Let's go now to my next interview of the day. Larnai, Scarr, political editor at the West Australian. Let's begin on Corona. Big warnings on the economic impact. Obviously, the first thought at the moment is containing it, and we've been, thankfully, had pretty limited exposure in Australia. But regardless, the economic impacts are already being felt.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a story in our paper today, Madeleine King. She's the first Labor MP to come out and criticise the government's handling of the economic impact of coronavirus. But, you know, regardless of whether they're doing enough, I mean, you're absolutely right. We need to get on top of the, containment of this virus first. It is interesting that, so during SARS, the economic impact of SARS was $40 billion. But that was at a time when China was the sixth largest economy in the world.
That's 40 billion around the world.
That's right.
Which is relatively small.
Exactly.
Obviously.
But that was at a time when China was the sixth largest economy in the world. It's now the second. So, you know, lots of economists are predicting that the economic impact of this virus, even though the death toll, the percentage of deaths as a result of infections is lower, will be worse.
And when you think of that impact on Australia, it's the fact that China is our biggest export partner. They're the country that buys the most things from us, to put it crudely. And there's the university aspect as well. With such a huge number going to Australian universities, that means they're going to be here a lot later. The universities themselves will have to have truncated courses. So again, with China in particular, we'd have an outsized impact on our economy. Yeah,
there's also the tourism impact too. And we know that, obviously tourism operators have been impacted by the bushfires, but, Chinese tourists spend about $1 billion a month when they come to Australia. So, it is a big impact on a variety of different industries. And not only will universities suffer in potentially having to put off the semester, but they're having to, those who aren't going to do that, they're having to develop courses that can go online and, really invest a lot more resources into how they're going to handle this.
Yeah, people being encouraged to get out there and holiday locally. So there's a good message, particularly some of those bushfire hit areas. Let's talk about the Nats. What's your view? Was it a mistake from Michael McCormack not to, I'm not sure what he could have done, perhaps kept Matthew Canavan in place? I don't know if you give a promotion to Barnaby Joyce, because he's had a leadership coup. I mean, that seems crazy to me. Was there another path he could have taken, or did he have to think about those as well that did support him and stuck by him?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky situation, but I also do think that it doesn't stop the division that is obviously there simmering in the Nationals. Those people who were on the side of Barnaby are now continuing to be angry because they're not around, the ministry table or the cabinet table. So, I think that perhaps Michael McCormack, it maybe would have been smart to include some people that were, Barnaby supporters in his ministry lineup. They didn't necessarily need to be in cabinet, but maybe they could have stayed in the outer ministry or the assistant ministry.
And let's be realistic though. I mean, let's say Lou O'Brien was popped into the outer ministry. Does that really stop him voting for Barnaby Joyce next time if this happens?
It doesn't stop him voting for Barnaby Joyce next time, no. But maybe it shows that you're bringing everyone, back into the tent. You're wanting to be unified, which are the words that Michael McCormack used when he came out after the leadership spill, that, we were putting this behind us, we were going to unify. But then, when he announced his ministerial lineup, it didn't actually eventuate as that.
Yeah, as I said, I understand sort of both sides of it. I just think it's fraught because it's not even necessarily this crude act to vote for me and you'll get this position, but the people that do vote for him, if you're having to make an outer ministry position, I guess there was room for a promotion, wasn't there, without demoting one of his supporters.
Yeah.
But that person that supported him would have been furious, right?
Yeah, and some people in the Nationals are saying that there were those discussions during the leadership spill about, if you vote for me, you will get this. So,
never, I'm sure. Those conversations don't happen, do they, Larnai?
Well, that's what people have said publicly, but certainly behind the scenes they're saying that.
Look, I think we all acknowledge that at least there's an indication or a hint, even if there's some plausible deniability afterwards. Just finally, you've been following Indigenous recognition this week. So Christian Porter's adamant that whatever the sort of timeline Ken Wyatt outlined, not necessarily in concrete, but he gave it a bit of a deadline, mid-2021 for Indigenous recognition. Christian Porter says he has no issue with that being made as a decision outside of Cabinet.
Yeah, he said that, you know, everything doesn't need to go to the party room, but, you know, he also, it's just a very tricky issue because a lot of people are, you know, very annoyed in the party about how this is being, you know, how this is being consulted, how this is proceeding, and they don't feel that it's appropriate to even make ambitious statements or, you know, aspirational statements about when this occurs.
So the worry is amongst some people, there's now a date out there, and if you miss that, then you're seen, that can be picked apart. Why did you fail, and so on.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what is really important on this issue is that in the first instance, everyone in the Liberal Party and the coalition are on board with this, because otherwise, how are you going to go out there and sell it to, you know, the public if they go, well, you guys aren't even unified on this, you guys aren't in support of this. So, you know, those people who might generally have concerns about this issue, they need to be brought into the tent and consulted at every possible opportunity.
Larnai, Scarr, thank you, as ever.
Thank you.